Tony, let's talk about soccer a little bit. Your show, Counterattack on Sirius XM FC with Dunny, is obviously electric. But let's talk about the MLS being able to get back here on July 8th. How are they able to get this all done weeks ahead of schedule of everybody else? Do you know, behind closed doors, how was this all taking place, and how did they get to the 54-game tournament in Orlando?
Well, obviously they've got a committee that's working on sort of the logistics and how it's going to work. For the first 3 games are going to count against the schedule, which is kind of odd, but we're living in an odd time right now. We had Commissioner Garber on our show just 2 days ago, and we asked him the exact same question. He said the first thing that needed to be done, what some people may or may not know, in February they ratified their new collective bargaining agreement, but it was never signed. And then as they were going through, no one obviously knew about a pandemic. No one knew this was going to happen. We all know we are kind of living in strange times right now. Well, since that deal wasn't signed, they now had to go back and basically do a new deal, right? Because we're living in new times. And then the owners came out and publicly said that, they would potentially use force majeure, which basically says we can lock the players out if you don't want to do this, which is not good for any sport, especially our sport, the sport that continues to try and grow in this country. And, the commissioner was able to strike a deal with the MLSPA, and they finally got this. Now, keep in mind, this was supposed to start June 1st. That was all indications. So that's how far behind the timeline they are right now. The other thing that needed to happen in having players, speaking to players, they needed to be convinced that they were safe, right? They needed to be convinced that they were safe and that their families were safe. And they spoke with medical professionals that they had on the phone, and in talking to guys like Dax McCarty, guys that are at the forefront of sort of the negotiations of this, they said they were actually convinced that they'll be more safe in Orlando doing what they're doing than they are in their daily life at home right now. So that was in the end. Now, there's going to be some players that don't go.
Hey, that sounds like a little bit of a lie, Tony. That sounds like that one's a little bit of a
yeah, look, but when you think about it, everything is controlled. I got to tell you, I would hate it. You probably would hate it. And these players are going to hate it. It's 45 days in a hotel. Think about just trying to social distance inside a hotel. When has that ever happened when you gotten on an elevator, right? Food is delivered to their room, 3 meals a day. They have to eat in their room. They can't convene in, dining halls. And as an athlete, that's part of the fun of being an athlete, right? Going down there and you're at the table and you're together and you're joking around. And of course, now the jokes are probably a little bit different than they used to be when we were growing up. But that's the joy of being on a team. They're basically going from their room to either training or a game, and then back to their room. There is an opportunity for them to do their physical work, but they'll have to go in stages, which I'm sure is the easier part to work out. But none of this is going to feel like a real season at this point.
So do you think the MLS was, because they said June 1st when Adam Silver of the NBA said, I'm not even going to give you guys an answer on what we're thinking about doing until June 1st. Do you think the MLS obviously understood the nature of this is, hey, if we can get back earlier than everybody else, not only are we potentially a blueprint for other people, because the NBA is coming out that even if you're in the first round of departures in the tournament they're going to have, you're going to be there for 35 to 40 days at least, right? So same type of conversation here with them. Does the MLS, they know that this is a big deal to get out in front of the NBA, the NHL, the NFL. They know this is a big deal, right?
Well, it's a big deal. There's no doubt that you saw what the Bundesliga did, right, in Europe, and now they're kind of the poster child, right, for how things have to happen. And the MLS is going to be that way. The NWSL, the Women's League, is actually going to start earlier, but keep in mind the NWSL, the advantage that they have, there's 9 teams in the league, so organizing 9 teams is probably a little bit easier than organizing 26 teams to go down to, you're trying to find hotels and fields. And keep in mind the schedule based on what we're seeing, they're going to play a 9 a.m. game. They're going to play an 8 o'clock game, and they're going to play a 10 o'clock game every single day, 10 p.m., 8 and 10 p.m. Obviously, the West Coast teams will be part of that 10 p.m. game, but, you get into a routine like on weekend it's like 7:30, 4 in the afternoon, your body starts to adjust, and you're getting to the stadium at a certain time. Now you're going from a hotel. Can you imagine playing a 9 a.m. game?
That's like back in the day, cup tournaments. You're playing at like 8 a.m. You got to leave at like 5:30 to get there. I mean, it's going to be a whole new world. Are you worried as a man who covers the sport very closely, and now you're commentator for the Chicago Fire, and your name is synonymous with not only the MLS but American soccer. Are you worried that the level of play is going to be bad? Are they thinking about that, or do they think it's going to be okay?
I think I'm more worried about the injury factor, right? Getting on the field, and they'll have a good 2.5 weeks together on the field to get ready. I'm sure they've been pressing the fitness right now, but as you know, there's just a different energy when you're on the field. I mean, think about your off seasons.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure the ball traveled for whatever reason traveled 5 yards further when you were in preseason with all these guys around you instead of kicking by yourself in a park, right?
Bingo.
It's the same thing.